For this granny square, I'm going to use some double knitting, a 4 hook, and I've got a wee scrap here to use as a stitch marker. You can use any kind of stitch marker to mark your place. So this granny square is going to begin with a chain of 4. So I'm going to do my slip knot first, over and through. Got other videos on how to do the slip knot if you can't remember. Okay, so remember tightening it up, but not too much. Leave a little gap there so that you can slide this on and off. So I am going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if your chains are really loose, you can do 3, and if they're really, really tight, you can do 5. 4 is just the amount that I do. It's really just whatever makes a circle. Then I'm finding my first stitch, so that there, my thumb's at, is my slip knot. So I'm going into the one, just the first stitch next to that, yarn over, pull through, and keep pulling, and that is a slip knot. And that will have made a little circle there. Now don't be confused with this circle looking thing, that's a stitch, it's the one in the middle. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take my little scrappy, sad looking bit of yarn, and I'm going to pop it through the middle. I'm going to just pull this through and take that off my fingers so that I've got a bit more room to move around. So I'm just going to pop this through here, just pop it straight through the middle. As I say, you can use any kind of card, or you could use a card if you have a card that's this shape, but stitch marker is what I meant to say. And this will just help you go back into the same place every time. Okay, so round 1 of our granny squares. So the first thing we need to do is we need to build our height. So we're going to do that by chaining 3. Get out of the way, please. So we're going to chain 3 to give ourselves our height. So I'm just tensioning my yarn there. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we're doing double crochets, that's US term, treble crochets in UK. So I'm yarning over, always from back to front, going through the middle, yarn over, pull it up, and you have 3 on your hook, and then a yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's your first double crochet. I'm annoyed at this ball of wool because I've not got a centre pull going on, so I'm just getting a bit frustrated there. So yarn over, insert and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is the end of our first cluster. You can see my chains are a bit loose there, but that'll be fine. So that is a pretend double crochet, and that's 2 real ones. Then we're going to, for this pattern, chain 3. This is going to make our corner, so it makes a little right angle. Then I'm going to yarn over and do another 3 treble crochets UK, double crochets US. From now on, I'm just going to try and use US terms just to stop any confusion. So a double crochet is a yarn over, insert and pull up a loop. So you're inserting into that hole where we've got this. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. So how many have I done? 3! Too busy wittering. So another chain 3. So that's us done 2 clusters, 1 corner, and this is going to be another corner. So yarn over, insert back into this same hole, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to keep going doing this. And the idea is we're going to build 4 of these clusters. So each cluster in this pattern is 3 double crochets. So when I say cluster, I mean 3 double crochets, or if it's your first one, a chain 3 and 2 double crochets. All very confusing, but once you get going, it'll all start to make sense. So another chain 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, through two, and through two, and yarn over, enter, pull up, yarn over, pull through two, and two. That's two I've done. Crochet is mostly counting, I find. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3 fairly looking, obvious looking things. You can also look at the top for the V's. 1, 2, 3. So then we've got, I always think it looks a bit like a Maltese cross. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got to do our final corner to join it back up. And a lot of the time what I see is people forget to do this last chain 3, but it's really important to finish your corner. So that is chain 3. And then I personally, some people will insert it into the first stitch, but I find it goes quite loose. So I stick it in between this chain 3 and the next stitch. But you can do whatever you find easiest. We just need to connect it up somehow. And there we are. That's our first little square. So our second round, going to chain 3. And then because we've ended up at this side of the pattern, the square, on the pattern, we need to go back into this hole. So we're going slightly back on ourselves. So it's yarn over, slightly back on ourselves, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and do that one more time. And it'll look a bit odd, but trust me, it all starts to work out, because what happens is the chain 3 kind of goes slightly in behind, which makes the chain 3 look a bit more like a double crochet. And there we are. That's the first half of our new corner. So then in this pattern, we're chaining 1. It's a little bridge to get to the next corner. And then we're going to do a cluster of 3 double crochets. 1, 2. Just need to pull that up a wee bit. I'm going to move that out of the way actually. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so if you do something like that, you think, oh gosh, I don't know which way I'm going. Which way side is that? Can you see on this side, it's a lot more wiggly. On this side's a bit flatter. This is the right side that you're working on. The side that's a bit less crinkly looking. So I've done 3, and I'm going to chain 3 from my corner. And then I'm going to go back into the same space. Now be careful not to go into this space. This is new for next time. We'll get that on the next round. We want to be going back into this space. And what you can do, if you're finding it difficult to remember where your corners are, because it kind of moves around a lot and loses shape, you can put stitch markers into each corner as you're going round. Okay. And this ball of wool is driving me potty. It's so tightly wound. I'm just going to undo it and hope the cats don't catch it. Okay. Chain 1. So you see that's made a new corner there. So chained 1, we're going to our next corner. Now I am working right to left because I am right-handed. But if you were left-handed, you would work left to right. But it's exactly the same pattern whichever way around you go. 1, 2, 3. It'll just be a mirror. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and keep going. So we're going to do another cluster, exactly the same as the last one. And there we go. You see another corner. It's all starting to take shape. A little chain 1. Now you will find some patterns don't do a chain 1, or some patterns only do 2 in the corner. There's lots of kind of variations on what people think is a right granny square. This is my preference. Sometimes, depending on the wool, I won't do a chain 1. I will just go straight to the next one. But what I find is that it makes it look more of a V shape, which might be what you're looking for. Whereas when you chain 1, the stitches aren't quite pulled so far, so they don't sort of pull out of shape, and they don't make more of a dot rather than a V. Okay, there's another corner, chain 1, and here we are. We're going back into our first corner. So you see this is where we had our first one, so we're going back in here, and we're just going to do one cluster because we already have a cluster in here. So we've made half the corner, and so we are going to do our 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3 chains, and then going back in here again. It's my preferred place, and we're going to connect it up. It's a bit loose in that corner, but it will all work itself out. So it's going a bit like that because I've got the stitch there, but as we go around it'll make it a bit more square. So that has done 2 rounds. The third round is where we learn how to make a side. So each corner has a cluster of 3 crochets, a chain 3 and another cluster, whereas one of these side, I always call them walls, but you call them whatever you want, these side spaces, they only get a cluster of 3. They don't get any corner chains or anything like that. So let's show you what I mean by that. So 1, 2, 3 chains as usual, and then again we're going slightly back on ourselves into that space, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. And I do that 2 times because my first chain 3 is a fake double. Okay, so chain 1, and then this is my first corner space. So you'll see what I mean here. So I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and that is all I'm doing in that space. Then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do into this next space, into the corner. So 1, 2, 3, and this could be where you're using your stitch markers again. Sorry, that went kind of off screen because it's so tight. It's be where you're using your stitch markers again if you wanted to mark your corners. And then you'll know that where there's a stitch marker, you're doing a cluster of 3, a chain of 3, and then a cluster of 3. Now what can happen when you're doing granny squares with these kind of traditional clusters is when you go into this one, you've got this new hole here, and sometimes what can happen is people will go, aha, there's my hole, I'm going in there, but don't. That is one you've just created, and that's for the next round. We're still going back into this one here. Happens all the time. And you think, what's going on here? If that happens, I'm afraid that your only recourse is to undo it. Okay, here we go. We're doing another side. So 1, 2, 3. Oh. So another just one of 3, chain 1, and then I'm going to my next corner. And you see how it sort of starts to build. And so on the next round, you'll have more sides to do, but you will only, for this, only in a square have 4 corners. Obviously, it sounds obvious, but it never increases the number of corners. The only thing that increases are the number of side, I was going to say side pieces, but you know what I mean. Side parts, walls, whatever. Okay. 3, chain 1, go into this side space. So when it says go into chain space in the pattern, what it means is instead of going into a stitch, it means you're literally going into the space below that's been created by doing chains. So this space was created by doing 1 chain. That space there. This space here has been created by doing 3 chains. So you're going into the chain space. This is the chain space. Chain 1. Oh, and then what's happening now is the thing that I really dislike about granny squares is the first 2 rounds take no time, and then as you build and build, you've got more sides to do, more stitches to do, and they just gradually take longer. Which is why it's really common that people will do a lot of really small granny squares. 1, 2, 3, and put them together. Just means you can work on lots of nice little projects at once. And if you find they aren't coming out exactly the same size, you can block them, and I can talk about that in another time. But don't worry if they're not exactly the same. Mine's got a bit curly today. Okay, so then I've done another chain one, doing my final side. 1, 2, 3 in here. 2, 3, little chain, and then see, this is where I've got my 3 that I started with into the same chain space. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 chains, and then connect up. And so each subsequent round, if you were doing a big long one, would just have more and more of these sides. So you can see for next time, we have got, let's look at here, we've got corner, corner, and now we've got 2 sides. Oh, that went slightly off. So corner, corner, and we've got 2 sides, another 2 sides, but still always just 4 corners. So you can just work on and on and on and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's it. You can see that I'm fairly loose, so mine have got a lot of gaps. If you are a super tight crochet, you will have smaller spaces between. Similarly, if you omit these chains, it'll be smaller. Similarly, if you only do 2 chains in the corner, it'll be tighter. Just depends on the look you're going for. I quite like a wee sort of aerated look on my granny squares, which is just as well because that's how I make them. Okay, and that is granny squares. I probably could have taken this out a long time ago, but you can see got a nice little bit in the bottom, nice change around the outside. You see it's going to be a bit wavy because it's cotton. We just need to spread it, make it a little bit flatter. And you could stitch a lot of these together, or you can keep going and make it bigger and bigger and bigger.